Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life.
Welcome everybody to the Dream Builders podcast. I am super excited for the upcoming interview. As you know, we go into conversation with purpose-driven entrepreneurs and creators who have either fascinating life stories and also inspirational ideas about building this more purposeful world. And today I'm especially honored to give voice to this inspiring change maker. Our guest is none other than Martina Jochem. Martina is an expert in education, in leadership, and she's also the CEO and the co-founder of the School Beyond Limitations. And the reason I'm so excited to talk to Martina is because she's at the front of education today, running a fully digital and online school that's entirely focused on the holistic learning of each student by really centering their uniqueness. And I think that fits very well with the Dream Builders subject. So Martina, welcome to the Dream Builders podcast.
Thank you, Jochem. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. And it's an honor to be actually here. Thank you so much.
So before we talk about the School Beyond Limitations, I think it's also very cool to get to know a little bit more about who Martina actually is, because there's always a fascinating story behind any kind of change maker. So last time you actually told me that at age 5 you already knew what you wanted to become, right?
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
I would love to know what makes education such a integral and essential part of your life, and perhaps you can tell a little bit about your story before you actually started the School Beyond Limitations.
Well, with pleasure. Thank you, Jochem, for this wonderful introduction. Well, it's true, Jochem. I really dreamt of being a teacher at the age of 5, and not only of being a teacher. I had this idea in my mind and this dream in my mind that I would start to be a teacher. I would start to work, and I haven't even gone to school yet. I was still in kindergarten, right? So I couldn't imagine what that meant. But I was always a very curious child. I was always interested in learning, in finding out, in exploring and in investigating. I really had so many questions for everyone, and sometimes people probably also got a little bit frustrated because I was just, coming up with questions. So I thought at the age of 5, I would like to create an environment where students are actually encouraged and invited to ask questions, that they really stay in their space of curiosity, because that's what learning is all about, right? We are all people who come to this world and into this world with this kind of fascination for what's out there, discovery, adventure, and so forth. So at the age of 5, I thought I would want to be in school. I would like to teach that to other people. And it was clear to me, interestingly enough, the dream didn't just want me to become a teacher. The dream actually said to me, you will be a teacher first. You will then lead schools so that you know how to lead, students, and how to lead and manage a school. And then you would create your own context. And that's where then School Beyond Limitations was born. So I went through decades of a journey in education, and I really believe education is so important. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon in the world to change society. And I wouldn't necessarily use his name weapon, because I'm not very fond of the word weapon, but I think it's the best tool and the best way of really helping a human being be him and herself and find him herself. So this is also something very important for us, that each student understands who they are. So when I understand where my talents are, when I understand the worth that I have, and the mission and the vocation that each of us actually brings to to the world, and I go in that direction, and I have a supporting environment around me that helps me, bring that into the world, then everything will be different, because then we don't go get into competition anymore, because we just know that each and everyone is different. We are all unique, and each and everyone has to bring, and is allowed and is meant to bring something unique into this world. And so I believe that actually we are all kind of change makers, right? Change makers in a smaller context, in a bigger context, and whatsoever. And we can bring about change for the better, because I think it's also based all on relationships. So for us at School Beyond Limitations, it's very important that the students understand themselves as unique beings, embedded in a community and in society where they all have responsibility or feel responsible also for the others, because it's about respecting oneself first, but also respecting the other as much as I respect myself. So, and as you said before, give me a little bit an overview about where I'm coming from. That's there was a dream. So I went through formal education. I'm really fond of academia as well, I must say. I'm holding 2 doctoral degrees. It's really part of my essence, right? Because I can't stop. It's just the way I feel everyone is. But that doesn't mean that academia is more important than something else. Don't get me wrong. It's just about learning, right? About this fascination, inspiration that I just mentioned to you yesterday. I went to hike on the top of a peak, of a mountain. And this is also exploring something new, always going beyond, beyond the limitations that I think. I also yesterday, I was at I encountered a moment where I thought, I don't want to continue. I'm so tired, right? And it was still so far away. The peak was far away, but there was this kind of determination and this willingness. You still go there, and once you are there, you just realize how much one can do, and what else is beyond the peak, what else you can see. So I went through formal education, and I went through all the possible roles one can imagine. I started as a school teacher in middle school, so that's my main expertise. I'm an international person. I have moved to different countries, and so I always also left, my former environment behind and started again. That was a blessing again, because I was able to really experience different education systems, name them, traditional systems like the Italian system, the Austrian system, the Swiss system. I also encountered the British system, the IB system. Then I went into research, and I looked a little bit more closely into the Finnish system lately, and then of course Montessori, all the different. I do hold a doctoral degree in pedagogy, so you can imagine that I went through all these kind of notions, but I wanted to experience them, so I did a lot of research there, and I worked in different systems. I also taught from all the way through, from primary school. So I started in middle school, taught primary school, and taught up to A levels, up to I don't know how you call them in Holland, but it's either Abitur or Matura, Maturita, or something like so, the last degree before entering university. And I also lectured at university for many years, and then finally I became a head of school in international school, running the IB system. And there was always something, I realized, the IB system, and many other systems, they're so interesting. They're really good, very good, very, they give a lot of freedom, also structured freedom to students. However, certain aspects have been have been missing or are missing a little bit also there. And that's the personal development aspect, which I believe is important. We see students from a holistic point of view, you know, so it's this unique essence. It's not just the brain, you know, it's the three brains, if we want to call them according to the three brains, right? It's the head, it's the heart, it's the gut, or it's the soul, it's the spirit, it's the body. So that's a very important aspect of School Beyond Limitations. And then also this understanding to go into this generative, you know, space where a student understands, I don't have to wait until I'm finished. I will be finished with university, or I will be finished with school to start an enterprise. I can start before, whenever I have an idea. If I'm surrounded by the right environment, you know, and I'm mentored and I'm coached, then I can do that. So we, for instance, do have students who already at a very young age, you know, have become entrepreneurs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
right?
sorry, Jochem.
That's amazing. That's what I absolutely love about your school as well. That it's not just focused on theoretical, but that it's really focused on practicality as well, and that you can implement things. You can implement your learnings to actually become a change maker and entrepreneur. And
Exactly.
going back to your story, what I really like is that you have, let's say, the whole range of education on your back, in your backpack, right? So that's really what I enjoy about you. And what I would like to understand is, before we talk about the School Beyond Limitations, is what led you actually to, you know, you said like you have been an educator your whole life, and basically you still are, but now you're also an entrepreneur, right? So what led you to become that, to make that step and really become a change maker and build your own school?
Well, I think it's been the life journey as such. As I said before, there was always something I realized, you know, in each setting that I used to be, that may not have been integrated, you know, in the system. And I was always reminded of my dream, right? Already at the, you know, I'm talking now about 10, 12 years back. I wanted to actually already found a school, and I had the business plan and everything, but a physical school, right? So with all these elements that I was dreaming of, because I thought we need to implement those things as well. So it's certainly also the fact that I moved from different places, from one place to the next place, always due to family reasons, always due to my actually husband, because he moved with, you know, he was transferred to other roles or to another city, and there was no discussion actually who would, that was from the very beginning, it was clear, you know, that I would move with him. And this was, you know, I was open for that. And I think I never, you know, I didn't question that. This was just part of my life history. And that took me always to new places, that took me also to new experiences, and through suffering as well, because, you know, the suffering of leaving back an environment that you hold so tight, and because of the affections that you have created, and because of, you know, the projects that together with the team one and I've been able to put into practice, you know, it's been wonderful. And it's always tears in your eyes as well, because you say, you know, you leave something back. And then when our last move, you know, I thought, now, you know, it wasn't completely clear from the very beginning. I knew that I would be continue to work in education, but I started to educate myself again, because I thought, you know, I need to understand a little bit more about entrepreneurship, about marketing, about all these aspects, without actually knowing exactly where my journey would take me. However, at that time, I thought, okay, maybe now my journey is over, and the dream of creating your own school is not yet over. I still was working towards, creating that. And I found sometimes I already found investors, but then maybe there were other hurdles in the way. It was not meant to be, I think, from retrospective wise. However, I went through this training and I positioned myself in still education, but adult education, leadership education for women and managers, right?
Wow,
And yeah, and exactly. And I put, everything together. I already arranged all the packages that I wanted to promote then. And my coach at the time, whom I did this training with, the mentor, so to say, at the end of my training, she phoned me and she said, listen, she's the co-founder of School Beyond Limitations, and she's an entrepreneur and a mother of 2 children. And she said, listen, Martina, are you sure you want to go in this direction? And then I said, yeah, why not? And then she said, but isn't there something else what you really love to do? And I said, yeah, I always, I love being in school. I loved inspire young people and working with all stakeholders, right? And I dream of my own school. And she said, why? Isn't it possible to create an online school? And that was her idea. And initially I was very skeptical because I thought you need to have this for social and emotional reasons, you need to have this physical gathering, right? You have to go to school. And then I was, since I was also doing research at the time, I went to visit a number of schools also in the US, and also self-directed learning centers, North Star, for instance, and Ken Danforth, for instance, is a pioneer in that, and and then I thought, I just put everything together, and then I designed, so to say, School Beyond Limitations. And it was clear that, for me and also for my co-founder, we always talked with one another, but, the design of the school, of course, came then from me through my experience and so forth. But she's a very visionary person as well, so it was really great. And she was looking for something for children because she's an entrepreneur who left her country, who wanted stability as well, and so her children were the best, were the possibility for us to pilot the program then. So I created everything. So we went into pilot program with just a few students. Among those few students, her two daughters, and it was just flabbergasting. The outcome was amazing. It was amazing. I myself, although I had some ideas how it could be, but I was so taken aback by the positive outcome and by the speed, that we could implement in the learning, and how inspired the students were and motivated the students were. And just to get back to this online facility, I also need to say that, at the end of the day, I said something, we were in agreement. We also want our students to meet physically with among themselves, but also with the teacher mentors, and we want to use this physical coming together also for experiential purposes. So and so they meet now, or we meet 3 times a year, for 1 week, and it's amazing. It's really amazing because they bond so much that even when they are online, in their classrooms, and they don't even realize that they are actually in a digital virtual classroom, and they still bond after school, right? That's beyond limitations. They understand their learning not limited to the 3 hours of learning, but to their learning as a whole. And that's amazing. Yeah.
I really, really like that story that, you had a dream, let's say 10 or 12 years ago, already about building that physical school. And then in the end, it turns out to be an online school. So that always means that you should keep your dream, and that in whatever form it comes, it comes. And
Exactly.
what I'd like to know about your school is what makes it so unique. So you already mentioned a couple of aspects about, personal development, about making the people more, let's say, really using their talents. It's fully online versus, physical between four white walls. So that's very different from what I had in the past. And I would like to know what makes the School Beyond Limitations so unique. What is it about?
Well, I think it's all what you said. Of course, it's certainly this space that says everything is possible, right? We tap into a space of making possible, and not of adhering to a standardized program. Our program, so to say, develops organically, because the syllabus is actually designed through or by the interests and talents of the students. That doesn't mean that the students will not get prepared for any final exams if they but we take the student, we want to understand where does the student want to go. So it's extremely personalized. We only have 8 students in one room maximum, sometimes even just 6. So we start a class formed of 5 students, from 5 to 8 students, but no more. And they also get coached on an individual basis. So they get the coaching every week, just one-on-one with their teacher mentors. And the teacher mentors are actually always with them, in the sense that they can get in touch with the teacher mentors at any time. So if they have questions, so that's also unique. They are encouraged to ask questions. They're encouraged to go deeper, broader, and they are encouraged to see learning not only limited to the 3-hour setting, but going beyond that. And even if they were not to join a class, because they are going so far away that the time zone is not possible for them, it's not possible to connect, then it's not a problem, because then we say, okay, what you take, any intake that you get there, bring it back to school when you are back, right? And I think it's also the aspect, what is unique as well, it's not only personalized. If we have students that have a specific interest in creating already something entrepreneurial, then we go with that, with this energy. We open, in this case, also the possibility to get in touch with entrepreneurs. So this is also something that we encourage. We look for the right entrepreneur who can mentor the student, so that the student can really become, and see what is doable.
That's amazing. Like having these role models and examples, it's super important for the
Exactly,
kids.
exactly. And I think with that, they learn the most, right? They learn the most. Yeah, this is unique for sure. And also the uniqueness of having a school that comes with you, right? I mean, can you imagine the continuity uh, uh, of a school context that comes with you? You don't have, especially for families, entrepreneurs, or managers, or digital nomads, who continuously change location, and you don't have this hassle anymore to find a school context, because your school context is coming with you. And also another unique, let's say, aspect of School Beyond Limitations, we do not use grades. They are not pressurized by grades. They are actually always invited, because we invite them to look into themselves, to find out, am I accountable for my learning? Did I use the right strategies? So it's all based on self-reflection, on peer reflection, and on ongoing observation by the teacher. parents get feedback very regularly, so that's also unique about it. Then our students, they understand themselves not only as learners, they understand themselves as learners like the teacher mentors also do. But they also experience themselves of being teachers themselves, right? So they have a very broad and in-depth expertise in certain areas. And so the others benefit from that. So you can imagine, if you have 8 people with different interests, then all the content that they bring to the plate, on the plate, is part of the curriculum, becomes part of the curriculum. And then what's also unique, we don't categorize our students according to their age. We have multi-aged, classes, because we see how much the students actually do inspire one another. Even older students can learn from younger students because they think differently. And also the aspect of, for older students sometimes to put their insights, their notions into a language that the others understand, and and also learning how to share their expertise, how to present, how to speak, and that puts them into that provides them with so many soft skills, that are needed. The 21st century skills that are needed to really navigate well in nowadays society is actually based on certainly also academics, as well, but it's basically also how to use the digital media, and becoming aware of the of the opportunities they give us, but also of the threats that are out there, and then of course also the collaboration skills, leadership skills. Absolutely. Communication. How do I communicate? It makes a difference whether I communicate, I don't know, with somebody who is 10 years old, or whether I communicate with another person. And they learn that, right? They can then, they are, so to say, guided in this process, how to adjust their delivery to others. And that gives them so much. And I think that's also a skill, this appreciation of oneself, the appreciation of the uniqueness of oneself. So that one doesn't get conditioned by what's around them. It's more about creating a non-judgmental space. Yes. Where I learn to not judge other people or other opinions. It's just to be, aware. There's different opinions out there, different notions out there, and how can I make sense of that? So, and that's of course a process. It doesn't work from one day to the next, of course, and it depends on which background the students have, right? But once they are there, they look at things really, we do a lot of emotional intelligence as well, on 3 main pillars. It's about awareness, self-awareness, peer awareness, and awareness for the entire society. So different domains there. Then we have compassion, and then we have engagement. It depends on how much I engage, right? And yeah.
So amazing, Martina. I really like, all the different aspects that you mentioned, and they are actually a lot, because it's also innovative. It's about, everything that I basically didn't have when I was about, let's say, 12, 14 years old. But when I was sitting in class, I always we had a fixed program for, let's say, the masses. And I always had to think in classes like history, I was always like, why do I have to learn this, right? I was always scratching my head, and it took me a lot of energy. And whereas, your school is so much more focused on the uniqueness of each individual. It's about, you know, intrinsic motivation. It's about what makes you spark from the inside. It's about curiosity. And it's also about, you know, entrepreneurship. And I really like that. And I would like to ask, because you've been talking about the 21st century, let's say, skills that every individual basically needs. What other aspects do you think are very important for kids to develop in the coming years? Because we're moving more online and so on. You mentioned communication, leadership. Are there any other aspects that you focus on?
I really believe it's about the understanding of being the creators of your own life, right? So that students understand I don't have to wait for a job. You know, I don't make myself independent on, you know, on the state, or, you know, on a company or whatsoever. That doesn't mean that, you know, then our students may not work for a company or may not work, but it's more about the energy that I
Yes.
can also become my own entrepreneur. I can create my own thing, because I think this is key. You know, we see it already how fast, you know, the jobs change, the job descriptions change, you know, and how different our students are. I mean, I've been working now, I don't want to say it, but because it indicates about how long I've been working in this field. But anyway, it's over 35 years, right? I've
Wow.
been working in the educational field. And I must say, you know, if I compare, I don't like to say, use the word compare, but still, you know, there is a development, there is a change there. If I look back at how teaching used to be when I started teaching, that's completely. And I was aware of Montessori, I was aware of, you know, all these the reform pedagogical movements, you know, and certainly certain things have been integrated already at that time. But the students of today, they are different. They're completely different. You can't compare them at all. So they are exposed to a different modality. I mean, they know that they were born already kind of with their iPhone in their hands, or with their cell phone in their hands. I don't want to say, I don't want to make any judgment on that. I just wanted to, you know, to give this understanding. It's a different way. And the students, they do understand, of course, that the notions and what they are interested in, they can find everything online. They can find it. And then, of course, they either start to ask questions, you know, and the teachers who take that as a positive thing, they can really work well with them. And if they are, however, in a system that says you are not allowed to ask questions because you have to stick to what you have to do in order to, you know, fill in tests, or in order to do your exams, then you actually just, you know, you kill their curiosity. So there is already as such a change has taken place with regards to personality building as well, of the students, right? And I think what is really needed is giving those students all the techniques, all the strategies into their hands, that they can navigate, or that they navigate this new reality out of a generative energy, out of an energy. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy bringing something new into the world. I enjoy being a contribution for the world, and not being you know, paralyzed. What can I do later? So it's really about giving them this clarity. You are here for a reason.
Wow.
And there's, if this reason can already, you know, be expressed immediately, you know, then one can imagine what happens, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Navigate life out of, you know, we are all innately, I think, you know, a human being already has decided to come into this world because yeah, because you are, you know, as a human being, we tend to grow, you
Yeah.
know. Each child looks, you are a father yourself now, you see with your own son, I imagine, how curious he is, right? Already when they are very small, they are curious. And this curiosity is innate, is an innate need. And if we just allow them to go with this uniqueness, and to see, instead of categorizing our students, you know, sometimes I found it difficult when I was working in traditional settings and also private schools. I found it sometimes so difficult to categorize students according to how disciplined they were, you know, and how such and such, you know. And I thought maybe it's just they can't express themselves the way they are. And by saying that, I don't want to say that the collaboration with parents is not needed, right? We need to collaborate with parents, but you know, I remember I had once a student at university level. She was desperate, you know, in her third year of university or fourth year of university, because she wasn't able to conclude the studies because she didn't know why. And I coached her and I said, are you sure that you are in the right course? Right? I just said that. Are you sure? Even if you've done already 4 years, but do you want to continue with your suffering or not? And then it was her decision to change after 4 years. And she still writes me, and now I'm talking about 20 years back, right? She writes me sometimes messages and she said, you know, I'm so glad I encountered a person who said, you know, I shouldn't pursue something that I thought is the right thing. I have to finish it, but it was not my thing, you know.
Yeah.
And this is what I think what we want to do with School Beyond Limitations as well, that we want to take our students seriously. And this is also needed nowadays. I mean, you can look into many experts, you know, writings. It's really, and even universities now, you know, they're looking very often at not less at the personal statement of the students than at their outcome of the exams, because they want to see what kind of contribution do they bring, you know, to our university and also to life then at the end of the day. And this is, I think, is what education is meant to be. Not condition a person into supporting, yes, you know, of course supporting. If a person were to say, I know of a person who at the age of 28 has started a new academic program in medicine at the age of 28, right? That means that you still have 10 years ahead of you. But if this is the right thing, go with it, right? But if I knew that, you know, at the age of 15, for instance, that this is my intrinsic essence,
yes,
then I may do it earlier, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely, you know. And I always ask myself, you know, when I was in high school, what I wanted to become and why I'm here and how I could express my talents. But these were exactly the kind of topics or subjects that were not there at school or were not there to be taught, right? So
exactly.
I'm very happy that there is now a school that actually, you know, takes care of that creative energy that's all inside us and wants to come out so that we can all wake up. So I think that's absolutely crucial for each individual that we can express that we can also give a meaningful contribution to the world. I think that's so crucial and important for all of us to, you know, to level up the service that we can give to each other and perhaps the products that we can create. So I think that's very cool that you guys are focusing on that. And I would love to understand from your opinion or what you think is how we basically can guarantee how each individual can, let's say, live out their purpose, because that's basically where we're talking about, right? What do you think are the aspects of not falling into the conditioning So
Mhm.
what do you think are, let's say, the top three aspects that we can all live out? Because there can be a lot, but what do you think are those aspects to live out our purpose?
You mean as a student or
As
later
a
on?
as a
As a
student,
student.
as a student, yeah.
Well, from School Beyond Limitations point of view, of course, we coach our students on a regular basis. So we listen, we observe, right, through observation, through listening, through seeing, because there is a tendency with each student, where they go.
Mm.
There may be a student who is always interested in animals, for instance. You just realize there is something to it. You can't neglect that, even if you would like to integrate something else. But at the end of the day, it's always this coming out as well, and taking that into consideration. So it's through observation, through coaching. Then certainly we also use techniques such as human design,
Mm.
right? So where we try to understand the personality, the innate personality of a student, and that's unique, right? And that's not about you are not good at this or not good at that. It's just understand which direction may be the leading direction, right? So we use that, and the strong collaboration, of course, with the parents,
Yeah.
especially when parents are not are very open-minded, because we work with very open-minded families who actually just want their child to develop into their essence. So
Mm.
if there were parents, for instance, who see it kind of they have already their idea where their child has to go,
Mm.
then we may support the parents to mention other things that we have observed, that through our techniques come out. We have a very strong collaboration between the teacher mentors as well. There's a daily communication, what is unique about each student. And so it's an ongoing observation as well. So three things: it's ongoing observation and coaching, it's understanding the uniqueness with regards to whether it's human design or other, but
Mhm.
other strategies. And then certainly collaboration with all stakeholders in the first place,
Yes.
with parents, and open-mindedness. I think it's really about open-mindedness. Yeah.
We absolutely have to be open-minded, especially in the times that we live in, right? I mean, there's so much change coming to us, so
Yes.
that's also why we should live our purpose, I think. And what I would like to understand is, we're talking about change now, and then just in my mind, I'm thinking about, with all the jobs that are disappearing in the future, let's say in 10 years from now, we know that 30 or 45% of the jobs, according to recent studies, will disappear. There's so much change in the online space and so on. What do you think are the, let's say, the future elements of education? How is that going to look like? Or what is your ideal view?
Well, I really believe that we need to think in terms of being much more flexible, right? I think we need to get away from the notion that we have just standardized programs. We need to bring it back to the aspect of seeing each single student according to how they are, and giving them the space and education, and also putting lots of things online as well, right? And but I would say it's certainly towards seeing the person as a whole, and not only
Mm.
offering lecturing and lecturing and lecturing, because lecturing, you can find anything online, really. You
True.
can really find anything. There's lots of free material and paid material, and name them, and that's something a student can also do through that self-directed learning. But
Yes.
still, the relationship, having somebody at your side who may challenge you at times, who may support you, who may open you open new ideas, new thoughts to you, and new notions as well. That's the key. So I think it's really about seeing the individual and not standardizing, because the standardization has created it's industrialization, right? It's not the uniqueness of us. It's about everyone is in one pot and you do all the same. And that's against our nature, actually, right?
Well, at least against my nature.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for saying that. I think it's also very important to focus on the uniqueness of each individual. I think that's absolutely crucial, especially when we're looking into the future.
And by saying that, sorry, Jochem, if I just may, because that may come across as something critical, because I think there may also be students who like to be the followers in a group, which is fine. But if it's their nature, if they like to be led, then it's fine, because then they are in their element. It's nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong. But if it's in line with you, then it's fine. Yeah.
And I also want to add maybe one element which I think was very important, at least in my time when I was in high school and in school and so on. And that is the fact of, having friends and real bonds is also what you talked about earlier in this conversation. I think that's also crucial of, being at school, that you can meet different kinds of people and friends that you can have for life. And what I like about your school is that it's not limited to, let's say, to 4 white walls, but it's also not limited to a local situation, right? So I always used to go to school in Rotterdam. Right now, if you do that online, you perhaps can have friends from all over the world. It's a very international setting. So that's really cool. And I would like to understand, because you said earlier that you guys really bonded well in this small group sessions that you have in classes of 8, and then you meet, let's say, 3 times a year as well. How do you make sure that in an online space, people can bond that well? At least students, right? That we talk about students, because I think that's also crucial of going to school.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jochem, thank you for this question, first of all. I really believe it's this focus on personal emotional development, where the students continuously on a daily basis are actually encouraged to see themselves as the unique being they are, and as they view the connectedness between them, because we always say we are all one, At the end of the day, even if you were to say, I'm a different person from you, but at the end of the day, we connect with one another, and it's amazing. And I think it's through these kind of strategies, personal development, understanding that we care about one another, awareness of how what we do has an impact on the other. On the others, and and when a student sees and feels that they are taken seriously, then they just open up. And just to give you an example, I would like to give an example of a class that we have created throughout the coronavirus, because there was the need, right? And it was just a 4 weeks class. And it was all students coming from traditional schools. And the feedback that we got from all the students, from all of them, already after 2 weeks, they said, I feel much more bonded with these people in this class than for 8 years or 10 years with the students that my peers that I used to see every day in the physical class. And because there's no mob, no such thing as mobbing taking place, and if it were to take bullying taking place, and if it were to take place, we integrate it immediately. But not because of these strategies, right? Because people then understand, wait, get out of your judgmental mind. Have you done this because of what? And we do not put a finger, we just we make our students aware. And it's not it's not a development that gets embedded immediately. Sometimes it takes some time, but once they are getting there, you would never see people anymore to be judgmental anymore. They're
Yes,
much,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Very interesting what you said there. And I think it's also, in this online setting, it's great that you can also provide, let's say, a space where you can be vulnerable for the students. They can be vulnerable to share their thoughts, their feelings in a way that
Exactly.
you also secure that safe space. And I think that's also crucial when you're developing a student. So I think
Exactly.
that's so cool that you guys can also do that in a way. And I think that's
And
important
also,
for students.
exactly, and since you say emotions, right,
Yeah.
it's important for our students that they learn that all the emotions, they have value, right? We do not
Mhm.
say this is positive, this is negative, or whatsoever. We say, how does that feel if you feel sad? That, but we don't put it a negative, um, um, blueprint on it. We just say,
Yeah.
this is part of it. This is part of it, but I can also make a choice. I can embrace it. And by embracing it, I don't give it too much power over me. Yeah, so they learn how to navigate also their emotions. And as you say, once they trust, then they open up, and they know that there is a safe space for them. Exactly.
Amazing. Martina, I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
we could talk, I think, another hour about education and what it's all gonna bring. Um, but I would like to wrap up and see if you have anything in mind or from your heart is like what you still want to share here in this conversation. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah, my let's say my dream is to give as many students as possible the opportunity of having an education like this, because I really see, what the outcome is. It's not for everyone, of course. Somebody who don't want to be online, then it's not the right thing, maybe, Um, but not necessarily. We also had examples where students thought it's not the right thing, and then they realized actually it's not true. But anyway, I yeah, that's my dream, as that the education system actually starts to change all over the world, so that we already give out scholarships. We are an enterprise, of course, that can only function due to school fees, because we are not a private enterprise. But our aim is to give also students who can't afford it the opportunity to join us. And so we did. In each class we do have one scholar, right, which is fully financed. But I see that, yeah, but I would want to see this grow, yeah, as much as possible, and maybe also bring change about in settings that where there has no where change hasn't taken place yet, where it's still very formalized and very based on what you experienced and what I experienced. And by saying that, I don't want to say this has been completely wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's different, certain aspects of the traditional teaching. Sometimes a little bit of lecturing is okay. Don't get me wrong. But it's the right combination. It's just this understanding that we are not machines. We are human beings, and each human being feels differently and brings different talents and approaches things differently. Of course, also the cultural background has an impact and everything. But I think if we are capable of bringing that into the world even more, then maybe certain aspects that happen, certain problems. I'm a dreamer still. Think conflicts, and also problems with the environment, they wouldn't be there if we are all responsible, if you all know, and if you integrate that into our being, then there wouldn't be such thing of taking advantage of others, working only towards profit making, in economic terms, seeing it all interconnected, and I think that would take us into society where we all support one another.
Wow. Thank you so much for saying that, and thank you so much for this conversation. What I really admire you actually is that you are really at the front of education, and that you really have this bias for action as well, to just start carrying out that message, and to carry out that school around the world. And now perhaps that we start to become much more online, you can take this anywhere. So yeah, I think it's really cool, and I'm really looking forward to see how the School Beyond Limitations is going to grow in the future. Perhaps one last thing, where can people actually find School Beyond Limitations, the website, or what is the easiest way to get connected with you?
Well, the best way is our website, school-beyond-limitations.com.
Okay.
Then, of course, we also have a fan page on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, School Beyond Limitations always. Okay. And then we also have a Facebook group, Free Kids, Free Families. We are also present on LinkedIn. We start to be present on Twitter as well. But come on and have a look at our webpage, and look through our questions, most frequently asked questions. If you have any other questions, then just drop a line, and we will give you an answer, or just get in touch with us and have a conversation with us if you find this very inspiring. And in that case, either you just fill in an application form. It's just, you are not bound to subscribe your child already. It's just the first conversation, or just write directly to me, Martina, and again, school-beyond-limitations.com. And yeah, I'm happy to discuss any unique situation, because each family has a unique situation as well.
I love it, Martina. So for everybody, get out there if you want to get in contact with Martina or the School Beyond Limitations. The comments will be dropped down below. It will be www.school-beyond-limitations.com. Get in contact. I really encourage you to get in contact with Martina. And Martina, especially to you, thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to see what you're going to do in the future. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for listening, and we will be back soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jochem. Thank you for having me. It's been really inspirational talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can indeed bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And, as you know, sharing is caring.